Whoa! Hello, everybody. Hey, Bug Force. Welcome to another episode of GI Joburg. And I'm joined by...
Oh, it's Rob. Hello. Good
So,
afternoon,
guys,
good morning.
it's definitely that time of the year where we're falling apart. Steve is not going to be joining us for this episess. I don't want to go into the details, but it is... let's just say it's a bit of a shitty situation.
Guess I'm gonna have to skip the next one.
Yeah, looks like it.
That
Looks
time
like
of year.
it. So yeah, man. So like, I was absent on the last one. Steve's absent on this one, but you will get a lot of loving spoonfuls of Rob and myself.
That's us.
And we should have a good one. And also, like, hello everybody. Hello chat. Hello,
Welcome. Hello,
listeners, viewers, whoever else is. If you're watching this on wherever, we hope it's a good one. Good day, good morning, good evening, all that good stuff. So Rob, how are you, my man? Are you well?
Yeah, going well. You're going good. Still reeling from all the SDCC news, all the awesome Joe stuff that came out.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Too much cool stuff. I mean, I think we mentioned all the stuff we wanted to, but obviously there's tons of other things that's kind of cool.
I'm like this close to getting Jinx and Scarlet classified figures. Like this close, guys. Like this close. But I'm actually trying to save up some cash to get a Serpentor and Mindbender that a fellow member of the Berg Force is holding onto for me.
Hell yeah.
Because
you've wanted those.
Yeah, well, the thing is, but I really want them all. And at least the Scarlet and Jinx are like fairly straightforward. So I'm just trying to I'm building up that budget a bit. Because I also really want a Trouble Bubble. A Trouble Bubble. I need a classified Trouble Bubble in my life because that claw is looking super sweet that was announced at Comic-Con. And so there's exciting stuff. And Rob, just before we move on to the exciting stuff for this episode, anything cool and new and happening in your life that we should know about?
Not really. I don't think so. No. Life is generally just exciting. You kind of just get on with it. Shit's good. It's gotta Life is generally just moving along. Still sitting at the house at the Stephen's parents' house sitting.
Maison Jabba. Yeah.
Maison, holding down the fort. I believe Stephen's parents are now in Wales. Very exciting. So they're exploring the Welsh countryside. Daphne's already told me she loves it, but she'll never stay there. She says it's very nice to visit, but I will. All I'll have is Ken, my husband, and that's not enough. I need more out of life.
Okay, so guys, if you do want to follow the Jubbers, they are currently in Wales.
Tell me, what happened with you?
Things have been pretty standard, pretty cool, busy, the usual whatevers. But something that's been pretty cool lately that I've been doing on Gunpla SA, I've been building this bad boy. It's a garland from an anime called Megazone 23. It's from the sort of golden age of anime OVAs, should I say?
Hell yeah. Never heard of it. It sounds.
You never heard of Megazone 23?
I've heard of
No. I mean, I'd say that's interesting, but actually at the same time, it's kind of that doesn't surprise me because it's really, really popular, but it's another one of those anime that falls into the whole darkness that was created by Harmony Gold. Harmony Gold, as many of you know, had the Robotech license. They created Robotech because they had a Macross license to distribute Macross and whatever's in America. And they pretty much, cut any Macross products legs off, at the knees. So anything that was remotely Macross-like, they kind of they try to strong arm it and have it for themselves. And we've seen that with Jetfire when they did the Jetfire GI Joe thing. They actually sued Hasbro, and there was all that controversy with the Jetfire Transformer, which was actually a Valkyrie from Macross. Blah blah blah. I could go on, but Megazone 23 does fall victim to that because Megazone 23's footage was used in the Robotech movie, which I've never seen.
Oh.
God forbid, no. So yeah, so it's one of
Not
those.
worth watching.
23 is one of those tricky ones. It's like it had very limited distribution in America. There was a company that actually did grab and do translations for all three, and this was in the early 90s. And I love it. It's a huge thing for me. And if I could get a GI Joe vehicle like this, which is a bike that transforms into a mech that is GI Joe scaled, I'd be super happy. And they did get close with that with the Ashiko cycle, but yeah.
Well, imagine they do RC as one of the bikes. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be super cool.
GI Joe X Transformers, and you get someone riding it, I guess.
That man, they could have, like, in the Wild West, if they had ever done like a Megazone 23 toy, they could have somehow like rejigged that to be RC.
Well, yeah,
but anyway,
you know, tons of the Takara Tomy stuff was literally just, you know, rejiggered into Transformers.
totally
why not just do it?
Yeah, man. So we got comics to talk about today. Most notably Destro issue 2 and Scarlet issue 3, which I am very excited to get into. We did pose a question: are these getting better? And Rob and I are going to answer that in the next couple of minutes. I just want to do a quick shout out to the chats quickly. Just by name, Darren, what's up, my man? Welcome back to the show. Peter Moline, great to see you. Joe Hunter 73 is in the house. Same Time Toys, love that name. And yeah, Darren, I believe Mindbender is totally worth it. In fact, in your case, it's Minderbender. It's so worth it. So, and Darren also asks, did they ever make toys for Rideback? That would be perfect. I think there's a model kit for one of the bikes from Rideback. I think. I've actually been hearing that name quite a lot lately, but you know what? I digress. I'll save that maybe for another episode where Steve is sick, and then Rob and I can go a little bit ham on anime and whatever's on the episode.
Oh hell yeah! If Steve was just sick on this episode, we'd be able to talk about it now.
No, totally. But I know everybody's here to hear our thoughts about Scarlet and Destro, and yeah, Rob, like, just as we're getting into the comic books, like, how do you feel about the whole Energon universe at the moment? Do you think that this is a cool thing now? Do you think it's still cool? Because I know you're a big fan as well, to a degree.
Yeah, so far I've been enjoying everything I've read. Unfortunately, I haven't been reading the Void Rivals, you know, the main series by Robert Kirkman. That's kind of like the glue of the universe. I've been kind of paging through Transformers. It looks really good so far. But yeah, all the miniseries have hit really well. So, you know, I've enjoyed all of them. Cobra Command is still my favorite. Scarlet's kind of pushing up there, I think. Duke's pretty awesome. Destro's great, or different. I wouldn't say great for me personally, but I think it's getting there. Yeah, overall, I think Energon Universe is doing really good shit, and I hope we get some amazing stuff upcoming. They did announce, obviously, the main GI Joe series will spin out of all of these miniseries very soon, by the end of the year. So yeah, excited to see where that's going. Are you still enjoying this ride? Is it
I am. I'm totally digging this ride. You know, like I kind of have mentioned this in previous episodes before, but this series gives me kind of gives me hopes for comics, and I know that that's kind of like a controversial thing to say because, you know, there's so many comics out there and whatever's, but you know, it's a cool thing to be like a GI Joe fan right now. There's a lot happening for GI Joe fans. We've got a great toy line happening. We've got awesome comics at the moment. You know, 3D Joe's is going above and beyond, doing these like Blu-ray box sets, the commemorative set that they're doing. They've got these amazing art books coming out. There's just a lot of love for GI Joe at the moment, and it's cool to be part of that wave.
Yeah, I mean, the HasLab
old fans. Yeah,
Rattler. I mean, that freaking took off. I mean, every single HasLab that's been GI Joe themed has funded. You know, they've made all of them so far.
Exactly, and they've been doing so like super successfully, and it's also great for me, like being a GI Joe fan, and I suppose us. If I wasn't a GI Joe fan, I wouldn't be picking up comic books right now at all. They would be completely dead to me. In fact, for the most part, they were completely dead for me. Even the GI Joe book that was kind of going on just hasn't really done much for me, as we have witnessed in earlier episodes.
Being honest, working in a comic book shop, I mean, I page through a lot of different comics coming out from the big companies, and not a lot of it grabs me that much anymore. Maybe the new X-Men looks interesting. I'm curious to see where they're going after the pod people Krakoan age era, where you could die and you came back as some sort of plant person.
All right.
Freaking weird. But that looks
Sounds
interesting.
weird.
It really was. They're trying to take it back to basics. But yeah, not a lot of interest in DC or Marvel currently, and I'm glad that GI Joe is popping off, and it seems so is everyone else. Same Time Twice is loving the Energon stuff. Need to check out Transformers books though. And Darren is an unashamed edition EU fanboy.
Actually, now that you mentioned the EU stuff, I think it's Battle Action Force commemorative editions are also being done by TV shows.
I think he means Energon Universe.
Yeah, I know. I just, but it's that he spiked that in my mind. So
spiked that in your mind. Action Force stuff coming, Tiger Force stuff coming, hopefully.
But yeah, guys, I don't think I need to, levy much praise.
Everyone agrees. These GI Joe miniseries are the best thing on my pull list. Hell yeah. Best acquisition in years. Skybound killed it.
Yeah, what's up, the Lilith? Yeah, man, it's such a cool ride at the moment, and I think let's get into Destro. Let's get into Destro first, not because it's the lesser book or the greater book of the two, but there's something that I want to go into with the Destro book, like sort of as that'll segue nicely here, and that I suppose I completely destroyed the segue now, but anyway, I love how Destro's book. And actually how all of these books have done this, but I feel like Destro's book in particular has given us some like actual lore. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we've ummed and ahed about. I mean, we have a whole podcast about umming and ahhing about GI Joe, and it's cool that they are creating some almost like facts. Like they're creating real tension, things that we've always inferred from the stories, but have never really been put. They've never really had a spotlight shone on them. Like, for example, in this book of Destro's, this is very much about the rivalry between Extensive Enterprises and Mars Industries. And that was interesting to see because they could have just done it as a whole. I just felt like they could have done it in a whole different way, but it was great to see that they basically two different sides of the same coin in some respects, and that there's a little bit of fanboyism from Extensive Enterprises towards Destro. Like they modeled their company Extensive Enterprises around Mars Industries, and I thought that kind of like getting those little nods is great. Having that stuff as like concrete kind of lore filler for the Energon universe has been really good, and it's also really fulfilling as a GI Joe fan. But yeah, Rob, I mean, those are some of my initial thoughts. What were your initial thoughts on Destro?
Well, I mean, just to go on with the lore, it's great to see them kind of establishing stuff. You get kind of see like how they were before they kind of, Cobra rises. Cobra rises. But I mean, as Lilith says, they're building the groundwork. So we get to kind of see like who are these people before they just become, like Cobra Commander's lackeys. And instead of just coming across as like dialogue, like, oh, damn those twins. They're always ruining my endeavors with their silly men. My robots are always the best. You kind of just get to see the play out. And they don't realize it, but obviously us as the readers realize this. And I think it's really cool, is that there are, I mean, I don't know, they're obviously being played by someone else. Like that is very obvious that that's what's going on here.
Oh, you want to show that off in the book? Okay, cool.
Well, I mean, I just show some of this amazing art. But yeah, it's pretty obvious. I mean, like they're both from the start of the issue. You kind of get that they both think that the other person did this. Destro's motivation is probably a little bit better than Xamot and Tomix, as they're kind of like calling them instead of Tomix and Xamot. but Tomix and Zammit are very much like, he attacked himself, so he can blame us, so that we can, so we'll be, the bad guys in this situation. So I thought that was pretty funny.
I think there's a cool point that Darren Cobb brings out here in the chats, and he says, I like how Mars is all about superior firepower and extensive enterprises and more focused on manpower. I really I dig that. It's cool that it's a very cool thing, because like it shows Destro has a reliance on technology and that he doesn't trust people. I'm not saying that Zaymot and Tomax do trust people, but it's just that that's always been their weapon, is manipulating people.
And
so
I mean,
love
it
that
also
concept.
shows the weaknesses of either side. Together, they actually would be way stronger. Because obviously, Destro does have people in his organization. People have to drive the tanks and whatever else that he makes.
Totally. And he has a lot of respect for people. Like,
yes.
I mean, so Rob, you just squizzed past a cool kind of panel in the comic book. And it's where you've got Destro with his Iron Grenadier legions in front of him. And there's a whole bunch of like his tanks and whatnots parked in the background. I think that's even a demon in the background. Demon tank. Although those his tanks are like super oversized. But then again, I can't remember. I imagine the demon isn't smaller than the his tank, because I haven't got my own one for like a quick mental reference. But somebody in the chat will let us know. But yeah, he's addressing his followers, he's addressing his armies, and then you've got Zaymot and Tombax, and they don't have any vehicles or heavy artillery or anything in the shot, and it's just Crimson Guardsmen. And I love that there's this like they speak about how they will turn like hardened warriors into like hardened businessmen, and how they'll turn hardened businessmen into like hardcore warriors. And that was a very nice twist on the original concept of the Crimson Guards, which, as we all know, and for those of you listening, they usually would like sort of take in the ranks of like guys like lawyers and things like that, like super, super high. So it's cool to hear that, high-ranking businessman types are also sort of eligible. So that's a cool thing. That was a very, very cool thing in there. I also there was also another thing that happened in this book that I wanted to get your opinion, specifically your opinion on, Rob. It does come a little bit later on, so I do want us to get there. So I just want to put a mental pin in my mind. But what did you think of the action in this book? Because in the beginning, for me, it felt like, oh god, we're just gonna get this like fist bumping mirror of each other. But then we got into these cool action scenes. And what did you think of them? Like, what were your thoughts there?
I mean, like the panel I'm showing now, like the shots are fantastic. You really get to see like the spoilers and everything else working really well. And the action is kind of cool. You kind of like to see each side is winning in their own way. But then I think it's more Destro than with the brothers. There is unexpected stuff that they don't know about. So they don't know about the bats and what they can do. So it's very unexpected when suddenly the bats start attacking back. But there are, on both sides, there are losses, but at the same time, they also feel like they're winning it as well. So they kind of a stalemate, which kind of like drives them to have to do what they do by the end of the issues, which is meet and just talk about the differences they have and try and
they have to have a tea party.
they have to kind of like sort out their differences. But the action generally was really cool and creepy with the bats as well. He's like turn them on regardless of what condition they're in, and they just kind of come out. And I think where the artist, I think it's Andre Bresson, where his art shines is in the mechanics of things. His ability to kind of like make the robots look really cool, grimy, and realistic is really good. Like less so, I think, in facial expressions and stuff. A lot of the time, I don't. It feels a little unfinished, but I think when he kind of gets into the nitty gritty of tech and like modern stuff, I think he really does shine.
I'm starting to feel that that's actually why he was sort of brought in on this book, or why they felt he would be a great fit for this book, because there's a lot of machinery. There's a lot of like burning machinery. And
I mean, it's
and helmets. So it's and that really is his strong suit. Rob, I'm gonna do a deep cut here, and I suppose I should have done my research before doing this episode. But I feel like this artist, I don't know why, he's just something about his art reminds me of the RoboCop comics that came out sort of in the mid 2000s. And it also reminds me a little bit of Terminator as well, the Terminator books. Do you know if this guy worked on that?
I'm not sure. I actually didn't do a lot of research at all either.
That's cool. No, that's cool. I actually
I
then I
just
want
kind
to
of
put
went
that out
into
to
it
the chat.
blind. I
Yeah,
was just like, whoa, let's just read this thing and enjoy it as it is. But it's possible
sweet.
that
No,
he did.
it is
Like
possible. There's just something
it
about this
feels like
inking style, and it's a beautiful like style of art. I like it a lot. I wasn't that sold on the first issue, but the second issue, I feel like he's broken in now. So he's got like the feeling. It's a lot
it
more.
grows on you.
Yeah, it's more organic. I actually think he's even grown into the style. I want to compare the two books. In fact, I'm looking forward to the trade because I think when the trade comes out, I'd love to own these single books, but that's just impossible for me, unfortunately. Not impossible, unlikely for me in the short term. But the graphic novels, I think if you compare the first and the second issue, you'll definitely see. Or maybe it's just a mental thing. Maybe I've just warmed up, like you said. Maybe it's grown on me or something. But I just feel like he's way more organic, way more fluid, way more loose in this issue, and it's great, man. There's a very gnarly scene shot of this where you've got one of the spoilers that's like smashed in front of a factory, and it's got half of an iron grenadier hanging out of it, and you can actually see some of the entrails.
Okay, maybe we shouldn't show that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't, but it's not like that in your face. It's very like kind of blink or you miss it. But yeah, and for me, I'm just glad to see that the spoilers getting used, and also something like the asp, you know, like
it's cool. We kind of see like things slowly building up. Like we get to see little bits of recognizable GI Joe technology or vehicles that we've seen before, and it's kind of cool to see the asp actually doing something. And I love like there's one page where they kind of show the stats, like protective roll cage, etc., etc. And how they are pretty effective against the spoilers generally.
Now, Rob scrolling past some of these action scenes with the spoiler going, getting shot, and the asps, and they're exchanging fire, and it's all very like awesome. I mean, I'm just saying this for the guys that are listening to this on the podcast, but here is my only real criticism, not even critique. Actually, it is a critique, but I think it's more of a personal thing for me. I really hate onomatopoeia when it is bang bang and pow pow in a book like this. I feel like it should have been like tuck 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 tuck, or ta 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 ta, something more machine gun sounding, like as opposed visceral, to bang 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 bang.
Like bang 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 feels
I
don't know, it feels like 40s or 50s comic books.
Yeah.
Or superhero comic books, less so than it is. I mean, like the panel we're showing now, the sword is getting shot down. There's lots of bang, bang, bang. Like the Katoom is nice.
Katoom is nice. So,
but no, I get that. Like
they're like that. That's literally my
breadth of sound effects that you could use.
Because otherwise, it just I don't know if it was done as an intentional sort of editorial choice to kind of soften the violence or soften the bloodshed, so to speak. I've just said soften the violence and bloodshed, two different like euphemisms, whatever. Cool, that's great radio. But yeah, I just felt maybe that was the case. Maybe there was a consideration that was made for that. Let's make it sound less gun-like, more pow pow pow, so it feels more cartoonish. I don't know. I also, I want Steve. This would be cool for Steve to comment on, and I'd love for him to comment on this either in the chats or in the next episode. But I do feel like that is not the best way to use the asp. If I'm not mistaken, it does kind of go upright, so I feel like that could have been explored more. My observation here comes from the fact that I think that this artist definitely saw a lot of reference shots and could work off it, but maybe couldn't really get his head around how it's supposed to work when it's lifted up and all that. So that's something I'd like Steve to comment on that, because he's actually got the toy. I don't. So
although it's cool to kind of see it being wheeled around, they're almost like little mobile anti-aircraft guns, which I kind of like. I like the idea of them kind of like racing around the battlefield and avoiding getting hit, and then they're pow into the sky instead of getting banged back.
Yeah. So so this whole book culminates in, as Rob mentioned earlier, Destro and the twins. They kind of meet halfway, and they've sort of reasoned, or at least Destro reasons, that if they carry on this path, they're going to ensure like sort of mutual self-destruction, or and so they kind of try to find a peaceful path. And I just thought it was great that the writing went in the direction of, oh, okay, we're best friends now, Destro and the twins. It kind of went in. It turned into this, like, I want to say a friendly rivalry, but friendly is maybe just not the right word for it. But they are at least more of on an understanding now. It's kind of like
they're still understanding, but but they're not going to blow each other up. But they understand each other a bit better. But I think that they still don't trust each other.
Oh no, they definitely
by the end of the whole thing, they're like, why should we stop this? You started this. So it still feels like they're still not on the same footing yet. They haven't realized yet that there is a third party that is kind of pitting them against each other.
Yeah, because they're being like they're being pitted against each other, and they're like two dogs in a dog fight. They don't know anything that's going on around them except for each other.
They're very focused on the immediate things right in front of them, instead of realizing that what's going down here is someone is making them fight against each other for the benefit of that third party.
But yeah, true. But I also, it's just there's a fun little line where he kind of the agreement is like, the one wins, then the other one gets the other one's business. I mean, he'll forcefully take the other one's business. But it's just cool now that they've got this, like, kind of, just like I said, friendlier kind of rivalry now. Yes, they're always going to be up against each other, but now it's the scale is different. And I feel like this could have played out so well as in a TV series or something as well. So I just feel that the general scope of this in the comic book was really cool. And then that ending to this book, man. Yeah, sorry, Rob, before we get there.
Well, no, I was going to say, so they're on the same ground, but they are still agreeing that they need to destroy each other.
Yes.
Like they're agreeing that we still need to go about this, but we're going to go about this in a different way than we have been doing so far. So they're not friends yet. They are still trying to kill each other, but they know they can't do it. They can't keep doing it the way they have been doing it so far.
So that third party, do you feel that's Cobra? I mean, like, I know it sounds like an obvious thing, but let's explore it for 2 seconds. Do you feel that it is Cobra that is
manipulating them? I don't think it's Cobra, because, I mean, Destro is working directly with Cobra Commander. I think so far the only person in the story that would kind of make sense would be is that young woman we saw in the first issue, where she was kind of introduced as another arms-selling person, and she was there with Destro during the attack.
Yes, that's right. He saved her life, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did save her life.
That one, yes, yeah.
And even though, like, I would, like, you attack yourself, you might get yourself killed just to be able to, like, make these two groups of people fight each other. The brothers still came to that conclusion themselves. Destro attacked himself to make them look bad so that he could have an excuse to attack them. So it is possible. Or at least, just based on what we've seen. I don't feel like it's someone that we haven't seen at all. The person I think it is probably that woman.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I think I know that if somebody had to pick this up without maybe having read the first issue or whatever, they just picked that up randomly, and they were a GI Joe fan, they might assume it's going to be Cobra, and it may very well be Cobra. But I don't think the writers are going to do that. I think it is some kind of. I hope it is some kind of third.
Not that it's self-contained, but I mean the thing is we're building to having Cobra, working together, and these are big parts of Cobra, Destro and the brothers, and I feel like it's more like. Although now that I say that, I mean it could be Cobra Commander kind of like trying to put them against each other to make them stronger, to kind of see who comes out the other side, who's more useful to him.
Yeah. The old Cobra Commander
took me out of that, yeah.
Well, the old Cobra Commander would be, let me put them up against each other and let the best dog win, kind of thing, and then I'll use his military power. But this new Cobra Commander that we're dealing with, he seems to be more of the mindset of, these two have great things, and they're actually two sides of the same coin. And if I can make them compete against each other, I can actually get them to bring the best out of each other. It's kind of the vibe that I get from this, because what's going to now happen is they're going to come up with all kinds of interesting ways. And if they end up serving the same master, if they end up both serving Cobra Commander, then they will bring out their best to serve Cobra, as opposed to trying to take each other out or trying to waste their talents on something else. So,
if they can agree to work together. But so the end of the issue, we get to see more of the kind of Destro returning to his clan, I suppose,
ancestral
grounds. He needs to kind of discuss this with the ancestors. Very creepy still, very, very creepy. But he's not as smart as he thought he was. As we discover that there is a sniper that might possibly be taking him out. Cliffhanger, by the way.
So that's what I wanted to ask. That's what I wanted to get into. So the end of this book was a real surprise. I thought after the same Atomics conversation, we were going to go into previews for the next issue or some shit. Or, but then we got this tasty little moment, and then he's, and I'm still hoping for tentacles, by the way. In future episodes, I want tentacles to come out of that chasm. And
you never know. That's possibly how he escapes from the sniper. So the sniper is referring to themselves as Chameleon. I don't think that's an established name that I know of.
I know exactly who that is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Chameleon is this is what I love about this series of books, is that these guys really do their research, or they really they've got people, like they themselves are big GI Joe fans and are very much embroiled in the community, or at least are in conversation or are very open to listening to suggestions from other people and whatever's. I don't know, like in the sense of I feel like there's a rich knowledge pool that they have access to, and that they are reaching into that, because this is the Baroness. Because Chameleon is Baroness's, it's a code name that's used for Baroness. I think it's one of the code names that's used for Baroness when she goes on shelf as a toy. If I'm not mistaken, guys. That's one of them. They also she also used the code name Chameleon. I'm trying to remember now exactly where it was, but there's a figure of her as well that's also named Chameleon, but it's Baroness. So
wow, I didn't know any of this. This is why I need you and Steven.
Yeah, so I know that my facts on this might be a little bit fuzzy, as to the where, the who's and the where's and the hows, but Chameleon is the Baroness, or rather, maybe they're gonna play it up as Chameleon is the pre-Baroness. Maybe it's a character that's very much like the Baroness.
Yeah, because the only thing is, I mean, obviously we've seen Baroness already. Yes. We've seen her in Duke. In the free comic book day thing as well, we see her kind of being hired, or at least scouted by the GI Joes, or the pre-GI Joes, to kind of be part of their team. So I'm not sure. At least based off that, it could be another version or another female character.
That's why I want to see what they do.
Yeah.
Because remember, okay, this is like super speculation, and we're gonna go like really far. This is actually why I wanted to start with this book as well, because I knew that this would catch us a little bit. But I And I mean, this is complete like schoolyard fanboy speculation crap. So let's get into it. The Baroness's face was fixed with plastic surgery and whatever's from her injury. Okay, and a part of me wants to believe that she looked quite notably different before she had her plastic surgery, even though I know in the comic book it's not necessarily like that. But I want to think that Chameleon is kind of maybe the person that her face is based on, or maybe somebody is trying to impersonate the Baroness, and maybe that's where the code name could come from. So I like that kind of idea. I don't know. Like I said, it's complete schoolyard bullshit speculation. It's just like a cool idea I had in my brain. But I want to see what happens with this.
The facial reconstruction that's in Real American Hero though. They haven't established
that's correct,
that in the Energon universe yet. Like whether or not
true.
She actually looks different than what we know her to look like.
So maybe I don't know. Let's see. Maybe Chameleon is the evil version of the Baroness, or maybe it's a mentor to the Baroness, although not in the original continuity. Baroness's like mentorship came from a terrorist leader, if I'm not mistaken. Can't remember the name now. Anyway, this is a very fascinating little bit of just info that they dumped and that they dropped into this book. And I'm sure there's many other podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff that are going to discuss this and I know that after hours, I want to do some more digging into it because I'm very excited to see what happens with this. Well, I hope that I'm not making it too big in my head.
No, you never know. I mean, Darren mentions half sister. Darren thought maybe a half sister. And he also asked, didn't she try to infiltrate Cobra in one story?
See, that I don't know. Because there's a lot of Real American Hero continuity I just can't remember anymore from the original Marvel run, which I need to reread properly. And I've barely touched IDW. There's so much in IDW that has been done and then retconned and then done. And it's just like, so I get confused with all of that. And then there's Devil's Due in the middle of all of that. So, so there's all these ideas. But anyway.
So that's Chameleon, but Overkill.
That's Chameleon.
Overkill, that's the that modified bat, isn't it?
Bat, yeah.
Or is it Overt Kill? I always think of it as Overt Kill.
No, Overt Kill is from Spawn.
So do we think Overkill is Overkill? Kind of like the smarter bat, or is it just a code name that they kind of threw out there to confuse people?
I have, I feel like we need to put this on one of our focus episodes, but I've always felt like Overkill existed as somebody before they became a bat. I am very much a big fan of there was a person whose consciousness was put into a bat kind of storytelling. Okay, yes, I know it's basic, but I like that.
So kind of like Robo Joe, where he got injured, and he could put into that giant space.
Got cyberized, yeah. So, I like to think that maybe whoever this Overkill she's referring to is the original, the human being, or maybe some kind of, I don't know. It's definitely it's a character, and I like to think that character is perhaps the sort of the human before it becomes the advanced bat, which would tie in quite nicely in this bunch of books because of the bats and their Energon power source, and maybe having a leadership for the bats themselves. So, and there's Chameleon on the coming soon shots. If you guys
so we get the cover for issue 3. You do kind of get to see Destro fighting Chameleon, and it definitely, Chameleon is a woman. We can see that from the cover, but still a big mystery as to who she could be. But I personally, I'm leaning towards it being that female arms dealer. I feel like that's definitely who this is. Who that arms dealer is? Yeah, I don't know exactly who she could be like in the bigger picture of the thing, but at least based on the characters we've been shown so far, and good storytelling would suggest a character that you have shown us before is probably going to be the character that's going to show up at some point later on.
Sweet. And just before we jump into the pool that is Scarlet, a Viper Scout comes here in the chats with a really cool tidbit of information. In Devil's Due, Overkill is the Saw Viper that got turned into a cyborg. See, that is cool. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe they're doing a similar riff here. Devil's Due had some great ideas. I think it would benefit us as just us in general to read more of the Devil's Due line. I know that I have quite a lot of them.
You know, like maybe we can make a series of that, us reading comic books and talking about them.
No, I think this would be a case of like, I think we would have to read a portion of the story arcs.
Oh, do you like story arcs and stuff? I mean, it was its own little mini reboot, so we could literally actually do a whole thing about Devil's Due.
Yeah.
We moved on. Moonlight, have a good weekend. Enjoy the replay.
Yeah, man. I hope it's not too much hard work. But yeah, I think it would be fair, like good for us to cover some of that, because Devil's Due had some fantastic ideas in their run. Whether I've experienced them firsthand or just read about them on the periphery. It was I always thought they had some cool ideas. I wasn't always the biggest fan of the comic book. I found it difficult to get into because there were a few like very dramatic changes that maybe my Joe fanboyness was not ready for. But yeah, cool.
At least they were trying new stuff. I mean, that's still cool. You know, they kind of acquired the license. They were like, they're not going to just retread, you know, what's come before. So it's kind of cool that they did try new things. And totally. It got us interested in, you know, at least for a while in GI Joe again. And it was just cool to see, you know, comics on the shelves. But I hope Skybound, you know, with the Energon Universe will go much further than say Devil's Due, you know, did back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, let's take 2 minutes here to speak about this before we jump into Scarlet. I think we can move this off for now. That's the comic book of the screen for now. So, okay. I think IDW had the right... I mean, IDW. I keep doing that. I think Devil's Due had the right idea. They had the energy. They had the chutzpah. They had all of that to, like, bring GI Joe back to life. And in many ways, I feel like they succeeded in doing that because it was great to see that come back up. I remember, and I'm sure, Rob, you might remember this. In fact, how many of you guys remember that Wizard... issue of Wizard magazine that had, like, this whole rebirth of the 80s? And in there was an artwork by J. Scott Campbell that had Snake Eyes, Lino, He-Man, etc. You know, Voltron.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was very cool, right? He even drew like a really awesome Valkyrie. And there was a whole article about, like, you know, like this like kind of reviving of the 80s properties and how that could look. And I think they commissioned J. Scott Campbell to do that GI Joe artwork that became the first that became the artwork of the cover for GI Joe issue 1 by Devil's Due. And J. Scott Campbell is a huge GI Joe fan. If you've read Danger Girl, you'll see the references. Like Danger Girl's like GI Joe and Indiana Jones mixed with a bit of like Tomb Raider, I suppose. Anyway, I think IDW had great intentions, but I think the problem is that they had like a single track. And they were kind of like, this is the continuity now. This is how we're going forward, blah, blah, blah. And I think GI Joe fans were not ready for that. Whereas what I feel Skybound has done very well is that they've separated the universe entirely. You know, they've got the mainline book, which they're going on, which is on live support, sorry to say. And which they put a lot of money into, good artist, amazing writer, all that good stuff, but the book is just not taking off. But then they've got this whole separate line, and they're asking GI Joe fans not to accept. They're asking GI Joe fans, would you know, check this out?
Do you want to try this other flavor of GI Joe that we got going over here?
Yeah, and that was very clever. And I think, you know, I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? I think had Devil's Due sort of had a bit more of that approach back then, it may have worked out for them. But then again, I'm saying this, but Devil's Due sold really well. So, yeah, and IDW, when IDW came in, their whole approach was, well, let's take everything that we didn't like about Devil's Due, which I think they felt maybe Devil's Due went too fantastical, and they grounded it really hard into realistic military with those first few issues. And you know, like they had that hardcore Call of Duty vibe to the books. And fans were like so totally in that. And yeah, I feel that they lost some of the magic. They had some of the magic and they lost some of the magic. They had some good ideas. Anyway, I think these are definitely future episodes that, you know, are waiting to happen, like where we read these things as a whole and not go issue by issue and maybe just take them as arcs and discuss some thoughts and things about that.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Let's get into Scarlet, man. Scarlet, we left Scarlet. She was jumping from the top of a building into
Everyone was
a
surprised.
lobby.
They're like, "Oh my god, what is she doing? Why is she doing this?"
And it's like, oh my word, like how's this, like what's going to go on here, you know? And then we find out that she's infiltrating the enemy building, and her mission is to take out the power supply, let's call it that, the power supply for the security that is protecting the secret weapon in a completely different building. And yeah, Rob, what were your initial thoughts on Scarlet's issue 3?
I really enjoyed it. It just keeps building, and the action is always very, very good. I absolutely enjoyed this issue a ton, like an absolute ton. The art is so good. I'm really enjoying. Whatever the artist's name is, he's so good.
Ferrari, something Ferrari.
Yeah. Ferrari,
yes,
is really, really good.
Oh God, getting old stuck sometimes, man. Like, just I can't remember simple shit like that. But yes,
old Porsche.
Yeah, Porsche.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying where it's going. You know, it's kind of slowly building things. We get lots of action, but we still get a little bit. And finally, in this issue, we get Jinx and Scarlet together in the room.
Yeah,
which I thought was really cool. And a big thing I really enjoyed in this one was seeing. We might have seen a little bit of it in the previous issue, but the redesign, or at least the design of Jinx's entire outfit, is so badass. Like,
very cool.
I absolutely love it. It looks fantastic. There's the like claw things on the boots.
Oh, dude. Jinx's new Jinx's new outfit is really cool. I love Scarlet's infiltration. Should we call it the white suit or the gray suit? I suppose it's a lot of fun. Like, because, you know, she's not GI Joe. She's got a bit of a Ashikage going for her. I'm loving that design. You know, this is just purely the visual side of things. I like the goggles. They're very sort of cyber, almost Ghost in the Shell like. Yeah, there's something very Ghost in the Shell about this issue for me. When I say Ghost in the Shell, I mean more like the beats, some of the action beats from the movie and some of the action beats from the TV series. I feel like this artist, Marco Ferrari, I remembered it, maybe looked into a lot of the standalone complex and Ghost in the Shell stuff to get a feel here.
Probably a huge fan, yeah.
Probably, yeah. Or maybe not even a fan at all. Just when they were doing their research, they came across some of the Ghost in the Shell stuff and they were like, this might actually be a great fit for this. Also, I just because I'm a fan of sharks, I thought it was so cool that they took a moment in this book to have Scarlet swim past, you know, a deadly predator.
Yeah.
And her getting nervous about it, but then also being thankful that neither of them had to spill blood. And that was cool. Like, I like that. You know, and throughout this whole book, I'm waiting for them to come back on that shark where the shark like dies or the tank gets like shattered or something.
Blown up and it comes out and starts biting people.
Spoiler alert, it does not happen. It would have been funny. Actually, Rob, that could have been pretty funny. Is that like if the tank got smashed and the shark like bumped on, like
kills someone,
like getting eaten, like, oh my god, like there's a half man, half shark, you know, kind of situation. That could have been pretty funny. But it was cool that the storytelling went more in the direction of, you know what, like the first rule of being a ninja is don't do any harm. Unless you mean to do harm, then do lots and lots of harm.
Ensuring, you know, where she needs to go. It's kind of like a very cool, visual, interesting, you know, like place to move through. But
what a ride!
The focus, you know. And as always, I mean, the action is so good. So she, you know, she kind of swims down. but the action is so well choreographed. Like some of my favorite panels is when she's kind of fighting, and
Yes.
like you actually feel the movement in the panel.
There's
you know,
one
kind
I'm
of like
going to
what
put on the
she's
screen
doing.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, not this one. Sorry. So it's a shot of, it's a complete action shot. It's like it's kind of the comic book version of a single take where you got Scarlet cutting off some guy's face, then you got her again kicking some guy, then you got her again like stabbing some dude, and then like resting against the wall. But it's all done on a single panel, so that we got like 5 Scarlets here.
It's
Four
I
Scarlets.
feel like
No.
it's riffing off and it was done recently as well in Deadpool versus Wolverine. It's the
Yes.
old boy corridor scene, but in comic book form.
The single take, yeah.
You know, the kind of single take, and it's the same thing where you kind of see her moving across like ga 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 ga, and you kind of see the progression of what she's doing. She gets hit, she hits the guy, hits the next guy, gets the third guy, and then she's against the wall, kind of like a moment of rest. So well done. Like the action is absolutely incredible in this issue. I mean, the entire miniseries so far.
I would love to buy this page. You know,
you should.
Like, I love this so much. I should. We should try to get Rob. We should try to motivate to get Marco Ferrari in South Africa for Comic-Con.
Heck yeah.
Hey, like, yeah.
I think that would be fantastic. So
I think that'd be super cool.
So okay, so we spoke about the kind of like action sounds in Destro. Do you feel the action sounds on this are generally better?
Oh, totally.
Used? I mean, yes, you still have the words, but I mean, it's less egregious,
comic
I think.
booky.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's offensive. It is a comic book. It's supposed to be silly. I get that. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say it's supposed to be silly, but it has license to be a little bit, you know, unrealistic. But yeah, I far prefer the onomatopoeia, the sound effect choices for this. I also like the fact,
it's used, but it's not always the way that you kind of highlight what's an action that's occurred. I mean, looking again at the old boy panel, it's sometimes it's actually just, I mean, near the end of the panel, you kind of like she kind of breaks a dude's knee, but there isn't a I like them, you know, it's not it's not highlighted by a sound effect. Like certain things have sound effects and certain other things don't. And it's more like the panel they drew it in themselves to kind of draw attention to it. So it's not overused. So I suppose I like the mix of like in-world sound effect versus the use of the sound effect, the lettered sound effects.
Yeah. No, I get you, Rob. I also found that with this book, and yeah, I mean, this is why you come here, ladies and gentlemen. But I also found a lot of the sound effects come from actual weapons and physical objects rather than from any kind of fisticuffs. So it does happen, and it's almost like it like they save it for like moments. Like in the one take shot, the sound effects also like kind of draw you through the scene. They kind of create like a line that you can follow. So if you follow all of them, if you start with stab and you go to slice, then move to shing, then go back to stab, and then you actually get this cool line of action.
You're reading them. Yeah, you're reading not just if there were word bubbles, you're actually reading the sound effects as you move along.
Yes,
and kind of
and
helps
it's a
you
great
move.
and also like lots of buff paff pow kind of things are taken out because we can see them and visually they have enough impact. But otherwise, it would be like stab, buff, slice, pow, whop, shing, stab, sloosh, something. It'd be like ridiculous. So
the whole page is filled with words, and you're like, "Where's the art? I can't
great
see
restraint." So okay, so guys, yeah, the basic plot unfolds that Scarlet goes in and she actually does manage to destroy the power source.
Yes, she does.
That is creating a force field around this like sacred weapon that the Arashikage are busy working to get, and so we got Jinx and Storm Shadow doing their thing there, and it's like it all comes to a head quite nicely. But I just want to mention some great moments that happen and all of that. Firstly, I love how sarcastic and full of cuck Storm Shadow is. Like he, like it's cool that he's like very like he believes in his student, in his apprentice, basically, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, he's like, I chose her.
Yeah.
I think she's totally gonna get this done. And then Jinx, I mean, obviously having to play the part of the person who's against this idea, even though
Yes.
obviously she's best friends or whatever with Scarlet. She's like, no, I don't think she can get it done. He's like, no, you must believe in me. I know what I'm doing.
Yep. And there's this cool exchange between Jinx and Storm Shadow that she did it. I can't believe it, says Jinx. And Storm Shadow's like, your doubt in me continues to delight me. And then Jinx retorts with, I wouldn't put it that way. He's like, you don't have to. I did. And I thought that was so good. He's such a dick, but I dig him for it. I dig this Storm Shadow. This is starting to become my favorite Storm Shadow.
Yeah.
Because
he hasn't said a lot, but like his actions and kind of the way he goes about, what he's doing in the story so far, he's a very cool
such
version.
a boss, man. He's such a badass, and it's cool that we have that. We don't have this like, I'm honor bound by duty to kill everybody. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm a badass and I know it. And then also there's a great moment in here where she is blowing up that whole generating compound or generating basement section. And she was startled by one of the henchmen, and she's like, whoa, I'm totally getting Last Boss vibes from this.
I was hoping he would be like a normal dude. But yeah, I actually have to pull out all the stops just for the last guy I have to fight before I end this mission.
Yeah, I'm getting these like Last Boss vibes. It's so cool. And also, like, yeah, this is such a fun book. It's such a kinetic book. It gives us a lot. This issue in particular, I don't feel is telling us too much in the story. And they wait for that to happen at the very last frame. Because, I mean, and this was but this is a great contrast to what's being done in Destro. In Destro, we don't know who's putting Destro and Extensive Enterprises together, right? And this book kind of does the same thing. Scarlet does the same thing. It kind of also makes us go, wait, hold on, who's behind this? Let's assume it's Cobra, okay? And here they go, yes, it is.
It really is Cobra. And it's cool because, like, it's 5 issues. So, the first issue is kind of like setting up who Scarlet is, and the beginning of her infiltration of the Orochikage. Second issue is her, fully, it's kind of like the ending of her ending of her infiltration, then beginning of the mission that she has to prove, that she can, be part of the clan as she kind of gets in closer to rescue Jinx. But at the same time, then issue 3 is that entire plan. We can see it unfold, but the story is still moving forward as well. We get little moments between her and Jinx. We get to hear more of, it be more in Scarlet's head, which I've really enjoyed the whole way through the series. It's just getting to hear her thoughts and the way she kind of like thinks about stuff. And so final panel, it is Cobra who has who's trying to steal, I suppose, buy this weapon, the Orochikage weapon from this mob.
From the Mugen. What are they called? I just want to actually get this name because it is not a name that was going to stick in my head, even if I.
As I was reading it, I was like, what? I don't even want to say
actual.
I don't want to say that.
I'm brave enough to say it. I just have to remember. Yeah, so it's the Mugen Onami. Mugen Onami. Yeah. So
is that
Mugen
brand new?
Onami.
I imagine it must be. But
So,
it's cool to see
so
that.
like-
They kind of there's a head now. So we it's the Orochikage versus Cobra. I imagine in the next issue. Do they escape with the weapon? It seems like they have it now. But there has to be some sort of showdown or conflict between Cobra and the Orochikage now.
And then there you go. And a few observations just to make in this book. Again, the Mugen, all their soldiers look like Yakuza.
Yes.
So like they've got So that was a big thing. I like that the two buildings are like labeled the tiger and the sakura, and that the art and writing team did a great job of telling us where we are, as well as showing us where we are. That whole scene where you all of a sudden you got like Scarlett doing her cool trick with the blood to make the Yakuza dudes think that she's gone upwards when she's actually gone down. And then immediately we just cut to, okay, we see the Sato Corporation, and then we see a bunch of like people flying in the air and
What's
like
going on?
highfalutin ninja kicks and things going on. And that was immediately. Like the geolocation was so good with that. Like it really took us moved us to a different scene.
And it feels like a real place as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels like a real place because you kind of get the mom guys, but as well as the security guys. The locations that are in there, this is like a observation room or the security room. You kind of get you get a good feeling of what this place is, and it feels like a lived-in actual location that you could visit in real life and be like, yeah, okay, this is probably where all the shit took place. So it feels real. I think that in the way that he kind of generally draws things and kind of sets the locations up. Overall, yeah, absolutely fantastic. I'm really loving Scarlet. Hopefully, Jinx and her get to be, she gets to save her by the end of the series. I hope that is something that happens. Although I don't know how that's going to affect her relationship with their Rishikage going forward.
Well, this book has done so much to mend my relationship with Scarlet. That it's actually turned Scarlet into a character I really care about. To the point where when we started off this episode, I mentioned that having a Scarlet and Jinx classified figure is kind of a high priority for me. And the Jinx was always there, but the Scarlet was kind of 50-50. And now I'm like, I really want the Scarlet figure, not just because I think it's a great toy, but because now her characterization for me has like sort of lined up a lot more, and I care more about the character. And just as an aside, a friend of mine who is not into GI Joe stuff at all is asking me if I can help them get a Scarlet figure because they are slowly being pulled into GI Joe. Now, this is somebody who's never been interested in GI Joe before. So that's cool to see, and that's the power of this Energon line at the moment. It's definitely pushing stuff out in the right direction. So yeah, Rob, I feel like we did more of a blow by blow on the Scarlet. We didn't really. I mean, because our general opinion was, it's so pretty.
So
I
good.
Love
by the way, so Aaron corrects us. There are actually 3 buildings. It's the Sato, the Tiger, and the Sakura.
And the Sakura.
Although, if I remember correctly,
so maybe
we only focus on 2 of the buildings because the 3rd building is actual legitimate business, while the other 2 are the ones that are controlled by the by these Yakuza type dudes, the Mugu Shogun.
Let's call them the Mugen. It's easier.
That's correct.
Okay, so maybe my praise needs to be dulled down a little bit because I didn't notice.
Well, I mean, if we're reading these things once, it's not going to stick in our heads. But we will read them over time, and that eventually they'll become part of our brains at some point. I don't know. The art is so gorgeous and the action's so good that the little details don't matter as much. But yes, he is right. There are 3 buildings.
The little details don't matter so much until we start nitpicking.
And then we're wrong because we're bad at nitpicking because we weren't paying attention. Where's Steven? He's always paying attention. He's like, one panel, you guys noticed in the background that there was this thing, and then it didn't line up with the other thing that happened later on. What do you guys think of that? And we're like, we didn't even notice that. Like, okay, Steve.
So I checked this with like Skybound now. In that issue of Scarlet, we have the preview for the next Destro issue, which would be Destro issue 4. Because we haven't even read Destro issue 3 yet, Rob, and they're already advertising Destro issue 4.
Oh my god! Spoilers.
And we see Chameleon on the cover, and let me just say that we are already wrong. When I say we are both wrong. You're wrong about who it is, and I'm wrong about who it is,
We're always
which
open
means
to
they
be
bait
wrong.
and switched us. They
I am
used our
very-
fanboyness against us. Clever mother
I'm always open to be
judges.
wrong. I'm very
Yeah.
open to be wrong.
So I'm excited about that issue too.
And yeah,
And
Darren says Skybound is letting Scarlet be a character instead of an accessory to Snake Eyes.
definitely
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. You know, I always thought
Definitely.
she was a baddest chick. But like, it's cool to actually get in her head. And I think this is something we've said before. Yes, there are certain characters that are featured, but even if those are the featured characters in GI Joe, we sometimes don't know them as well as we think we do, or would maybe
Yeah.
like to. And even though, I think I've said like, oh, you know, with this huge roster, you know, you could feature tons of other characters. You know, like there's 50 plus GI Joes that we've never seen featured in a story. I'm glad that Skybound is finding a way to make the characters that are the pillars of GI Joe interesting and new again. Like we are discovering new stuff about them, and they're kind of deepening our interest for the characters. And yeah, Aaron, thank you for joining us. Thanks for enjoying our content.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And for your cool words. Much appreciated.
I'm glad you
Love your
missed
work
whatever
too.
we said about Destro issue 2. If you joined now, I hope we didn't ruin it for you. I see you are still on issue 1. Come back and listen to the episode and tell us how wrong we are, or how right we are, but how cool it is.
So Rob and I are very happy with this run of books. Rob, I echo your
Skybound
sentiment.
is killing it right now.
Making what was old new again has been a great like sort of touch of sort of the Skybound kind of a formula, like, you know, like as you said, meeting
kind of
old characters,
things, you know, it's not just
in a new way.
House, but yeah, they're remixing things, like, you know, like the introduction or reintroduction of Cobra La and incorporating that into their big universe. I think Darren mentioned as well earlier, Pythona should be in an upcoming issue of Void Rivals. So it's cool to see a GI Joe character in one of the other series that they are currently doing as part of
also this. I think this also reminds us that GI Joe is a character book. Okay. GI Joe is very strong in character. If you have strong characters, you can tell any kind of story with strong characters. And I believe that. I'm sorry to use this moment to poo-poo the other GI Joe book, but I feel like it's weird because the man who made that rule, is the one who's writing that book. And his characters don't feel very strong in that book, and they don't feel compelled to care about the story. And it's cool that these guys are running this book that way. They're going, these are the characters. Let's put them through these stories. But it's also a bonus that what they're going through is interesting. Sorry to have used that moment to jab. It's just that I think for me, it's just that there's a lot of agitation and sadness with regards to the current GI Joe run. And it's like, actually, again, I just want to put this out there. In no means is it like, again, am I against Larry Hama or anything? I like Larry Hama very much, but I just am not loving that bit of his work right now. I really am not. And I just also feel that like a lot of the kind of rules that Larry has set as a writer in a lot of his books and a lot of his style, I feel like he's betraying that in a lot of ways. And I think it's good that that's being explored. But I think after 8 issues of people basically standing still and not doing anything, something needs to like be poked. And maybe Larry pulls this rabbit out of the hat and he blows us away, and then I'll be like, look like a complete idiot. And I'm actually okay with that. I'm okay with that because that would be 100 times better than where I think it's going. I'm
always open to be excited. You know, even if I don't like something, I will always give it a chance. And the thing is, you can still always find nice little moments and things in those issues. It's
definitely
just to kind of find them when you're kind of
holistically, it's not great, but there are parts of it. Yeah, it's not greater than the sum of its parts. It's fun. There's moments.
Skybound kicking ass with the Energon miniseries, and long may it last, and long may it bring more people in. And it's cool. There's synergy. I mean, yes, the 2 classifiers they're bringing out aren't the versions we're seeing in Skybound. You know, of Scarlet and Jinx, but it's good. We're still bringing them out. You know, like they're bringing them out at the same time that we have these two characters featured in a miniseries. So it's kind of cool to see that there is some sort of communication between the comic books and Hasbro itself. Whether whether we're just making the connections, that aren't there. But it's cool to see that they, you can pick up the comic book on the shelf and then you can go buy the toys, like new versions of these characters in the toy shops. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I would. I think a Energon line of classified Joes would be great. Obviously, we're never going to get a vintage line of them, so might as well just take the cool ones that we're going to get. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people out there who really want Zombie Mindbender and Zombie Serpentor.
Those could be cool.
I would actually think that too. I think that would be cool. They can keep literally every other design to themselves, though. But I think Zombie Mindbender and Serpentor would be cool. Nipple rings at all. But yeah, Rob, do you have anything else that you need to drop onto the masses today?
Well, I don't know. Do you have anything new? Are you just enjoying your collection? Are you still going?
I'm just enjoying my collection, man. Like the other day we discussed DJ. So I've had DJ here with me for a little bit. We've been going on like missions. He's being stalked by, where's he now? Being stalked by like Sartan. Like, So that's been cool. So I've just been enjoying what I've got. I did get a local purchase from a local GI Joe fan. But this purchase was done like a year ago. So I'm actually just waiting to send it to myself, to send it from Cape Town up to Joburg. It is a very bizarre figure, so I'm excited to get excited with you guys about it.
Should have waited. I'm coming up in September. You could have had free.
Well, I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna actually ask. Yeah, but that's the thing. I'm gonna ask him to give it to you. To bring it up.
There we go. Okay.
Because I mean that just like you said, that just makes the most sense. I just needed it to be your idea.
Well, there we go. Oh, you tricked me. Oh my.
So there's that. Yeah, man. Otherwise, nothing else, and that is okay. Because I think we're going to be drowning in awesome new stuff soon, and we got to be ready for that. So, Super 7 and all the classified reveals. Oh, it's madness.
We need to save money for the good stuff coming in the future. So, I personally don't have anything new. But Steven, so recently I cataloged Steven's comics for him after they kind of went through a rain damage period. And he was very insistent, like, what issues don't I have? You got to tell me immediately. Why haven't you sent this to me yet? So I sent him the list, and then within 24 hours, always giving us something to do. Within 24 hours, he was like, okay, I've ordered I've ordered a couple. You can add them to my collection when they arrive. So after a couple of misfires, the courier guy actually did deliver them, and I have 4 new issues. Well, not new. I mean, they're new for his collection of GI Joe that I'm not sure what they are. But Steven did give me permission to open it, and let's find out.
Don't tear it in the middle.
Let's find out. Oh shit! Oh, the comics are.
This is making great radio, guys. Rob is currently opening a brown paper envelope that has been securely sealed with very hard cardboard backing. Yes.
Yeah, this is actually very well packaged. This is probably it's not as good as how I would package it. I would say I would have put more effort into packaging it.
Well, Rob, you are an authority on this, so.
Yeah. Well, I think it's still well packaged because like whenever I send comics out, I'm usually the one that does the packaging at our shop.
Oh, good.
I do my best to imagine that I'm sending. No, I imagine that I'm sending it to myself. So every comic book that leaves the shop, I hope that it arrives in the condition that I sent it in. And thankfully, most people are very thankful for the way that I package things. They are very, very grateful. I mean, if something's happened to your comics, it's not me. It's the postal service. It's the courier service. They've ruined it. Something bad happened there.
Or the receiver ruined it and is blaming it on the courier.
Exactly. Well, I can tell you stories.
Yeah, dude, that happened, man. It's ridiculous. Okay, let's see.
Okay.
I can see a little bit at the back of that comic book. I'm a little bit excited now. Oh, there's a G. It must be GI Joe. Oh, that's very
Well,
yellow.
they're all GI Joe. Okay, so we're issue 29 of GI Joe.
Okay.
That arrived. So
That's a cool cover.
It's a very cool cover, and looks like a good
Destro.
story too.
Is that Destro on a his tank? Eh?
That is. It looks like it. Probably is.
Gee.
And yes, Darren,
really awesome.
all comics should be boarded and bagged, but that's not the way that Stephen goes about his collection. So, I don't know. Have I mentioned? I don't know, but I mentioned a little bit just now that I mean, a lot of Stephen's comics, not a lot of them, but a whole bunch of them got water damaged. So I told him, okay, here's the list of comic books that you don't have. And these are all the ones that are kind of damaged. There's also ones that are in his collection that have detached covers. And now like some of them are like getting to the point where they'll be detached. And he's like, can you page through them? And I was like, yeah, you can still page through it. It's, you can read it. I mean, they just don't look good. And he's like, no, I don't want to buy those again. I own them. As long as I can read them, I don't care if they kind of like foldy woldy and warpy and stuff. He's very much not a mint and box collector when it comes to comic books or toys, and I think we all know this about him. So next up, issue 61 of GI Joe.
Oh, that's the cool one with Stalker and Artback. No,
and Quick Kick.
It's Stalker, Artback, and Quick Kick. Is it Artback or is it Snow Job?
No, that's
Artback is in that issue, but that's Snow Job. Yeah,
Snow Job on the cover. It's called Beginnings.
That was a cool issue.
Art by Marshall Rogers.
That's the one where basically Artback has to go and let GI Joe know because basically that whole team has been disavowed.
Yeah,
and like Artback has like serious kind of mental grief or mental guilt, or he's got a lot of guilt because he had to leave his brothers in arms there. I think that was. Yeah. I think that's kind of the basic rundown.
Yeah, people will correct us, and Stephen will definitely correct us as well.
Stephen will definitely correct us.
The follow-up issue to that, issue 62, continues.
Oh, there we go.
So that was called Beginnings, and this is called Transit. So the story continues in here.
Yeah, so that's where our trio are being shipped around and whatever. That's a great M&M's ad. What's that ad on the back of that comic? So this is making for thrilling radio for the podcast listeners. D&D or AD&D, should I say? Yeah. Oh no, it's just D&D. Yeah, very cool.
D&D. And then finally, issue 64 of GI Joe.
Okay, so Baroness and Serpentor are about to kiss, and Cobra Commander.
They're all arguing. And the issue is titled "Maneuvering for Position."
Yes, that's a very cool shot of the Mamba. We discussed that when we did our Mamba episode. We actually
we did. So we actually own the issue that comes from. Yeah, so Stephen now owns 4 more issues of GI Joe. Add those to his collection. All right, Darren says Snowdrop poses as a vodka salesman. Nice. I hope he got to try his stuff. Yeah, and basically, so Darren, the way that you saw these comic books now is the way that they're going to remain. They're going to be like this.
Well, no, they're going to get worse.
Oh, well, yeah, they're going to get worse, but they're not going to. Yeah, this is it, and I'm going to put it on a shelf up here, I think. If Stephen's happy with where I put them for now.
I'm just going to put this out there. I'm a firm believer in bagging and boarding your books. You may never ever sell your collection ever again, but it protects them from humidity. It protects them from fading. It protects them from, your house leaking all over them.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Absolutely.
It means that you've got a fresh book to read quite often. No pages missing, no whatever's going on. And on the off chance that the artist does actually come to South Africa, or that, you do find yourself in JoeCon, you can get said artist or writer to sign the book without giving you that funny look, like, how dare you not look after the comic book that I'm featured in? Because I had to endure that when I went to go and get one of Stephen's books signed by Larry Harmer. Putting that out there. Which I then said to Larry, I was just like, listen, my buddy loves reading comic books. He loves going through them. He's not all about like collecting them and keeping them shelved or whatever. He, you know, he's forever paging through this, and he was like, "Oh, okay, then that's okay then."
That's all right.
And it was also Steve's first issue of GI Joe as well. I did say that, you know, Steve's managed to keep this thing alive. You know, this is not some like rebought as an adult kind of thing. Like, he was kind of impressed with that. Anyway, yeah, guys, chat, Bergforce, listeners, thank you so much for.
Well, before we go, I'll ruin this even more.
Rob is ruining our exit.
Well, no, not ruin the exit. I'm just ruining Darren's life by showing him. So this is currently where Steven's comic books are, and this is kind of like where they are right now. I might find another place for them, but yeah. So they're in fantastic condition. Look at them, aren't those beautiful? Look at those wall pages.
Robbie, what are you sharing that video from? Oh, okay, I see. Never mind. Clever.
Yeah, very smart. But yeah, so that's where his stuff is. So enjoy.
You clown. Okay, guys, thank you so much.
Thanks
and
for
a
joining
huge
us.
shout out and thank you to our Patreons. As soon as I find your list, there we go. So thank you to these wonderful people, all of you guys here that help keep the channel up and running, help us pay for cool stuff like StreamYard and the Discord and all that good stuff. And yeah, we really appreciate your contributions. If you want to add and contribute to the channel's growth, please do. Please join the Patreon. It's $3 is the lowest tier that we offer, and you can. But otherwise, you can donate as much as you want.
Go crazy, or just thanks for watching us. Thanks for listening. Always have a great time, especially on the live ones. Always love seeing people live. Thank you, Zentara. Yes, there are 2 Robs. We only had one Paul, no Steve. So we thought 2 Robs would kind of like make the whole thing.
2 Robs would make a right. Yeah.
Why not?
Also, guys, a reminder: we do have merchandise. Although I am shifting some merchandise to a different provider. This is actually important for guys that are listening to this live right now. The current provider I use for the merch doesn't serve Europe very well with some of the shirts and stuff that we do. So I've got another one that is actually based in Europe. And yeah, so I'm just busy trying to sort that out. That's been a thing on its own. But we should have some merch that's more accessible to guys in the Europe. Yes.
In the Europe and across the rest of the world that is not America. So yeah, join us next time for whatever it is we're going to talk about in episode 340. I'm sure it'll be very interesting, very, I don't know, mind-bending perhaps. We'll see what happens.
Maybe it'll be mind-bending.
Oh, you'll never know.
Yeah, guys, be good. Be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. Enjoy your toys. Enjoy your stuff.
Enjoy your comics.
Enjoy your comics. Yes. Don't treat them like toilet paper. And until the next one. Joe.
Oh, Berg.
And now I'm gonna play the outro video. Hold on.
Okay.
I hope I play the right
good way
one.
to end it. I hope so
Here
too.
we go.
We're about to find out.